So today's podcast episode is on cinema and how it has been hit by COVID. And joining me today from the Reinventing the Real podcast is Curtis. So first of all, I just want to discuss, well, cinema obviously hasn't
Yeah.
happened since March, April. All
Yeah.
these big films pushed back. We had Fast and Furious, we had James Bond. Do we think that we'll see them next year? Because there's talk about further delays even there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, well, with the rate that everything's going, I feel like it's always easy to try and be optimistic that, next year will be better and so on and so forth. But I think for a lot of like those kind of films anyway, like a lot of them were already fully filmed.
Mm.
And so it's just about, so it's not even about like scheduling reshoots and stuff like that. It's just about whether there'll be cinemas open or if they decide to go to streaming or whatever. It's just, so honestly, I'm not too sure.
Like you've said there, those films are fully recorded.
Yeah.
Streaming's an option. People still buy DVDs for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Could they have just skipped the cinema releases and kept a schedule sort of and gone to DVD, struck a deal with Netflix to stream these big blockbusters? Netflix are paying a hefty chunk of money for big films at the minute. Or is
Yeah.
that just, is the cinema experience vital to these big blockbusters?
I mean, I think it depends on who you ask, because like I know, like myself personally, like I very much enjoy cinema. I enjoy the experience of going to the cinema and film. But I feel like the way that cinema is in this day and age anyway, I feel like it's very like event cinema based. So it's only really these like big blockbusters that people go to see, and usually, if you're lucky, it will be like twice a year, and most of the time it will be two Marvel films.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm the same. I don't really frequent the cinema, the price, and just it's easier
Yeah.
to stick Netflix on. But these big films, I think you do lose an aspect of it if you don't get the big surround sound, the big screen, the darkness, and that whole, oh, I've paid money to be here. It's just a bit nicer. But you can't ignore the fact that these streaming giants were massive. Bless you. These
Thank
streaming
you.
giants were massive before a pandemic that left everyone at home and shut cinemas. So surely they're just going to grow and grow, and just, is cinema going to feel the impact of that when it does eventually come back?
I feel like there's no way that the impact won't be felt. It's happening already anyway, and I feel like even if all this with COVID and cinemas being closed, like I know like some Cineworlds are shutting down, and other cinemas might be looking to shut down too. Like I know even independent of that, I reckon within 20, 30 years, cinemas will basically be extinct. So, but I just think this has sped up the process.
Yes, I agree. This pandemic has been a catalyst, because I know for me, for instance, before the pandemic, I had Amazon Prime. That's it. Now I have Disney Plus. I have Netflix, and it's just changed my viewing experience. I can just lay in bed, watch what I want, or watch bits of here, bits there, and it's not much more expensive having all three than going to the cinema once.
Exactly.
Which I think cinemas have to look at. Obviously they're going to need to recoup a lot of losses now.
Yeah.
But their prices, people already criticise, and they've only gone up in the last 10 years anyway.
It's ridiculous. It's actually crazy. But I feel like with the way, like, it makes sense that they have to jack up the prices because they need to make more money because they're losing business. But then at the same time, if they're jacking up the prices, less people are likely to go because of said prices.
That's the thing. But after all this, when cinemas do open, I know there's talk of them being open, but they can now be opened in tier 2 areas in England, tier 3, not yet. But will demand be higher for cinemas because it's something we haven't been able to do?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I like right now at the minute, I don't know. I don't think so because I feel like there's very little out anyway. So I feel like whenever something is dropped, whether that be like new on a streaming service at the minute, well, for this year because cinemas have been shut, or like a film, like times of the year that tend to be quite popular are like the summer movie season, which starts in about May.
Mm.
Some argue that with like the rise of Marvel films since like 2011, 2012, some people would argue that for like the big summer season starts in about late April, early May, and
Well,
then ends in like August.
it's traditionally the school holidays. I guess that's when they can get kids
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so we might not see. I mean, with social distancing, you're only being able to have half capacity anyway. I don't
Yeah,
think cinemas will be in a rush to open before next summer if there are big releases.
not ideal. Yeah, like unless there are quite a few and the demand's there. Otherwise, I feel like they'll just be losing money by staying open.
Yeah, because they're saying James Bond is meant to be what, May next year now, 2021.
Something like that, yeah. Which
But
is already like another year. It's been pushed back.
and there's still rumours it will be pushed back further because they want it to have that big opening weekend, the big box offices, as well as people getting the full experience of a film made for the big screen.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, we see Disney Plus, who had their one big release this year, was the live action version of Mulan. And then they tried this new model out, obviously, where they put it on their streaming service, which is already £12 a month, and then
Yeah.
charged you an extra £30 to watch this film. Is that a big media giant with a monopoly on the release of that film taking advantage of consumers wanting to watch it? Or is it just them saying, look, if you went to the cinema with a family of four, it'd cost you 30 quid anyway.
Yeah.
And we've put a lot of money into this film.
I feel like it's a tricky one, especially when you look at like a studio like Disney, which is basically an all-seeing corporation. Because like, let's be like, Disney own like ridiculous amounts of properties. So like I understand where they're coming from, and that if you were to go with a family of four, it would cost that much. But there's no guarantee that. So like if I'm buying it, like me personally, I'm not going with a family of four. It's just me on my own.
Like, and you're already paying 12 quid a month thinking you're going to get to see all the Disney films and all the shows.
Yeah.
Because you see Netflix, they do a full-length film like The Irishman last year, ploughed millions into it. And
yeah,
I didn't pay any more to watch that.
No.
But with the pandemic, can you kind of say, well, there's no way, it's either a delay or you can pay that to watch it now. Now, I guess that's the trade-off we've got to consider here.
This is true.
And off of the back of that, we have Warner Brothers, who this week announced that all their 2021 films, which includes the new Matrix film, huge film, they're going to release on their HBO Max platform in the US at least, all on the same day, all for the same price as the subscription. Does that mean, A, that we're going to see no cinemas in 2021, really, if that's already what they're planning now? And B, is just releasing them like that on their streaming platforms on the same day a good move, considering current climates?
I feel like it's a smart move. I feel especially off the back of like, because no one had really done it yet before, like Disney with Mulan. I feel like it was very much testing the waters and seeing like how it would go down and whatnot. Like we were talking about earlier, like you've got movie studios who have like, well, like sorry. So you've got like Netflix who have like bought these like big films and they've distributed it themselves in the past. So like you had Marriage Story last year, you had The Irishman and stuff like that. But then it never like been released by the own studio, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah. So I feel like it was very much testing the waters with the
straight to streaming.
Yeah. And I feel like off the backlash that Disney kind of got for it, because it didn't do particularly well. Well, I mean, it still made money, but it didn't do as well as they would have hoped. Off the back of that, Disney have now changed their model. So they've just released Mulan for free on Disney Plus. They're also releasing their new Pixar film on Christmas Day for free. And I feel like Warner Brothers have taken a step back and they've looked at where Disney have failed and gone, okay, Disney are doing this. Well, we're going to give you everything for free off the bat. And that in itself is going to be more incentivizing. And so when they get more subscriptions, they're going to be making more money anyway.
And I suppose it's good PR more than anything. We're in a crisis at the minute. People are struggling for money. So just giving them these movies, not for free, because they still have to pay the monthly subscription, but they're not having to pay for the cinema or the DVD, or in Disney's case, on top of the streaming price, which I still can't get over. So I guess that might be the way forward for streaming. You know,
Yeah.
these big films straight to streaming, cut out the cinema. The Irishman did it with a huge budget. Netflix earned millions off of that as well. So I think that might be the future. Like you say, obviously we've talked about the release of films, but obviously just the production and filming of these films has been disrupted by the virus. We've seen the Batman being filmed in Glasgow has been hugely disrupted. They had to stop filming. They've restarted again now. But do we think not only is that gap in production and filming going to hamper the quality of the film, but are we going to see, because on set you have these new social distancing rules and such, is that going to affect the final product, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's a tricky one to say, because I feel like very much of the director's vision and things like that are already set in stone before filming even begins. So I feel like a big part of filmmaking is adapting and taking in new input from other people. And because making a film, it's a team effort. Like, at the end of the day, you see the film. If you're lucky, you know who the director is at a push. And it's so much more than just that one person. It's a team effort, and it's building off of what happened and adapting to it. So I feel like where there's a will, there's a way. So I feel like no matter what happens, so like with this pandemic now, like it will probably change how they approach each film anyway. So I'm not too sure.
Well, I look at it two ways. People have waited longer for these delayed films. Are their expectations going to be higher? Or do you think, in my opinion, I think people will go, but they filmed this film in the middle of a global pandemic. Everything's changing day to day. Government advice, what we understand of the virus. They've done a pretty good job, especially considering budgets might have had to have been cut. Studios can't be handing out the big sums for these films anymore. Well, at the minute, because of the financial uncertainty as well as the physical uncertainties. So I think it's just going to be like that. Depends on the person. But as long as we get new films.
Yeah, like people are just going to be grateful to have anything to be on. Because like, I think like Trolls World Tour came out straight to streaming, and it did crazy numbers. Like, probably because it was the only thing out at the time.
Especially when you've got your kids stuck at home because school's shut, or it's the summer holidays, but you can't go out. I mean, stick them in front of that, I guess. It's something different, saves you watching Frozen 2 for the 4th time that week.
Exactly.
So thank you for this. Again, this has been Curtis from the History of the Real podcast on Spotify. Cheers.
Thanks, man.